In our last Tuesday night podcast, we spoke about why home inspections are extremely important and every buyer should have one, no matter whether you're buying an existing home or brand new construction. For the last 2 years, home buyers have been waiving their home inspection. And you know what? I think the reason why is because their agent is advising them to do so.
That's right, Todd. I mean, how would any buyer know to forego a home inspection? Doesn't make any sense unless they're being guided.
And why would they? I mean, after all, if you're paying way over value for the home, that would be my indication that, hey, I'm going to give you a lot more money than what you're asking for the home. Why wouldn't you have a home inspection?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Why would you make any decision like this that is so expensive and it's going to be drastically affecting your life walking into something completely blind?
Especially when buyers have been using all their cash, getting gift money from mom and dad. And, so let's just kind of talk about some of the highlights. And guys, if you really want to dive deep into this, we have about an hour and 10 or 15 minute podcast, like I said, from this past Tuesday night. But let's go ahead now and recap some of these highlights.
And Todd, let's talk about buyer remorse. I mean, there's even one circumstance where the buyer bought the house sight unseen and never moved in.
Yes, and we got a video on that. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, buyers have been behaving so crazy over the last 2 years. They actually bought, in this situation, they bought the house in a coming soon status when they couldn't even get inside. They basically picked the house by shopping pictures online. And then in this case, after they had an accepted contract, they visited the house and realized that they hated it. And they settled on it at like 11 o'clock one day and put it back on the market at 1 o'clock that afternoon. And so, yeah, I mean, the crazy things have been happening. Also, I spoke with my attorney just a week ago, and he said that at the real estate commission level, that the complaints are extremely high based on, buyers not checking out what they are buying and then complaining later, filing complaints, even against, in most cases, their buyer's agent, from what he tells me, where they were advised not to get a home inspection or that something wasn't that big of a deal. And in fact, it was.
Exactly. And this has been the culture with the frenzy of the current conditions. Let's talk about why you need a home inspection.
Melissa, you need a home inspection because you want to know what you bought or what you're about to buy. And in a lot of cases, buyers, they're going through houses, they're uncomfortable or nervous or excited when they first go through right before they put in their offer. They haven't really spent a lot of time in the house. Maybe the house is occupied. And, the seller has a lot of their personal items in. And so the buyer really didn't have an opportunity to settle in and look around. So having a home inspection allows a professional to go inside, inspect the major components, figure out what's broken in the house. And not that you would necessarily ask for every item or nickel and dime the seller, but you want to have a full understanding of what it is that you're buying. And if there are any major expenses that are going to need to be made in the near future after you move in, what you should be budgeting for, and really just how to maintain a house. A good inspector is going to go over what you should know about the house and how to maintain it.
Mm-hmm. It is very distracting. When you first are stepping in a brand new home, you're kind of looking at the layout, thinking if it's going to be a right fit for your family. You don't have time to dive in and see the different things that go into a home and how it's working properly.
Yeah, you don't know if there are leaks, if there are outlets that aren't working. You don't know if the power's overloaded in the breaker panel and that you can't add anything, or that you might plug a hairdryer into one of the bathroom outlets and blow a circuit that affects 3 other rooms in the house.
Exactly.
And I think it's time to reiterate right now, Melissa, the fact that, a lot of people feel that when they're buying new construction, a brand new home, they feel that they don't need to get an inspection because the builder may say, well, the house has been inspected by a building code enforcer,
right,
code inspector, and they think that that's adequate.
I think it gives a false sense of trust, honestly. I don't want to talk badly about builders, but you really need to have your own personal home inspection when you're purchasing a new construction. I can give an example of a recent home inspection that I went on for a brand new construction, and there were countless things wrong. For one, there was a warped door in the basement that wasn't even noted by the builder. Then there were grading issues outside. The water needs to be sure it goes away from the house, and that wasn't properly graded. Another issue was the carpet. it was improperly installed, especially transitioning from a carpet to a hardwood in a separate room. All of these things need to be pointed out, and you are not necessarily going to get that information from the builder
or the code inspector.
Right, exactly.
So now that we've encouraged you to make certain that you don't waive your inspection right, get a home inspection, let's talk about how you write the addendum, because there are a couple important facts that you don't want to miss. Now, in many states, they have what's called contingency periods, not home inspection addendums, whereas you can do any due diligence you wish within a certain period of time, and you have the right to cancel the contract for whatever reason. But here in Maryland and other states, we have actual home inspection addendums that sort of outline the can and can'ts and the timeframes when you're allowed to do so. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see agents making in the contract, and buyers don't have a clue, so it's not their fault, is they make too short of a timeline to get the home inspection completed. Sometimes they may say within 5 days they'll have a home inspection. And that doesn't afford you the luxury of being able to pick the inspector that you want, somebody that's really qualified, and get them in a timely fashion. So you may be stuck with anybody who may not be busy. So I recommend at least having 7 days on the contract. You'll have the inspection done within 7 days. In addition to that, I like another 3 days, taking it to a 10-day contingency. Whereas if that first inspector gets inside and feels you need a professional in a certain field, such as a heating and air contractor or an electrician, that it allows you a couple extra days to do so, should your inspector recommend that you need someone else. Now, your agent may say, hey, if we put this inspection addendum in, the seller may not take your offer. If you want to be a little bit more kind to the seller, or let them know that you won't nickel and dime them, because sometimes a seller with a 50 or 60-year-old house, they panic with a home inspection because they know there are going to be things that are found that may not be that big of a deal. So you may encourage your agent to write something like, you will only ask the seller to make big ticketed repairs, or, for example, things that exceed $3,000.
I think that's a very good point, because I do know sellers get a laundry list of items and they're like, there's no way I'm going to fix all of this. But if you kind of just set the tone of what you're a serious buyer, you just want the things that are incredibly important to be fixed, I think it really speaks volumes.
Now, let's talk about who should go to the home inspection, because a lot of times agents say, just let the inspector go. You don't need to be there as a buyer. Maybe you're working. Guys, this is something you take off work for. I mean, if it has to be during the week in order to get the inspection done, take time off, go to the home inspection. This is not something you want to miss.
You want to be there. You want to see every little detail about your home. This is where you're going to be living. This is your investment. It's incredibly important, and 100% you should be there.
And the home inspection at least takes a couple hours if they're going to do the right job. And this gives you the opportunity to really look around yourself to make sure that you're not making a mistake. Your agent should also be going to your home inspection. I can't tell you the amount of times I hear buyers say their agent didn't go, or the agent themselves say they didn't go. It's a waste of their time. If it's important enough to have an inspector there and important enough for you to be there, your agent should be right beside you.
And how does the inspector get inside? Does the agent just show up and leave?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, Melissa, they do. They just show up, they use their access code, they get them in the, get them in the house and say, see you later, have a nice inspection.
Yeah, that's not advisable.
So let's talk about how to pick an inspector, because a lot of times you're going with the agent's recommendation. And I've had personal conversations with home inspectors that they have told me that their agents say things like, oh, don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. You can't ask for that. If you do, the deal's going to blow up. They don't even know. They haven't even asked in your behalf if it's a possibility for the sellers to fix. And they're automatically throwing things like that out there. Also, I've had inspectors that say that the agents are like, I got a guy. Don't worry. I got a guy for that. If they do have a guy for that, hopefully you can afford what that guy has to say. And, another thing that my attorney said when we were speaking last week is that, and I guess, they're now cases going to trial, but inspectors are telling him that they have to be careful because they would be known as deal killers if they tell the buyers the truth, or if they do things like check moisture on walls and things like that, that they have to be careful that the agent won't use them anymore, because they'll be known as a deal killer and the deal falls apart because of their inspection. Guys, if the deal falls apart because of the inspection, if this is something that you're told about the house that is, scaring you, alarming you, or more expensive than can be negotiated in the purchase, then guess what? Maybe you should walk away from the deal.
Mm-hmm. We advise the buyers to get a home inspector with construction experience if they have that knowledge, because getting your home inspector license takes, in Maryland, 72 hours in the classroom. So you want someone who really knows what they're doing and knows all about a home.
Like real estate in a lot of ways, right? I mean, it's a low barrier to entry. You pass the, classroom courses, you pass the test, and boom, you're a licensed home inspector. And you're right. I mean, Melissa, when we are looking for home inspectors, if our client doesn't have one and wants recommendations, I've been in the construction business since 1989. We interview these inspectors to find out, what kind of construction knowledge do they have? Right. What kind of reviews do they have? Are they really qualified to do the inspection in the first place? Mm-hmm. And so there are a couple things that I want you to ask. Number one, will they get on the roof? I can't tell you, unless it's a very steep pitch, 12-12 roof or something like that. In that case, you ought to have a roofing contractor, pay them to come out and inspect it. But if your inspector is not going to get on the roof, they're going to use drone photography or something like that. They're really not doing you the best service, because they're not looking for things that can be very problematic, or that are usually problematic, around flashing, where chimneys or vent pipes are coming out of the roof. These are the areas where water penetrates the easiest, and typically because of caulking, things like that, just dry rot on the caulk, and water gets in there very easily. And a lot of times you can't get in the attics in all of the areas to see if there is water penetration and damage to wood. Also, always make certain that the home inspector has a moisture meter, and that they are going to be able to check the exterior walls to make sure that you're not having moisture come in from the outside. Something else is very important. If you notice that there's a crawl space underneath the house, which is an unconditioned space beneath your floor joist, make sure that your inspector can fit inside of the access panel to make certain that you have proper vapor barriers, insulation, and that you don't have water problems within the crawl space. And now finally, let's talk about what you should be asking for, because if you're not being properly advised, you need to know this yourself. There are many disclosure laws that in that state require a seller to tell the buyer certain things about the house, certain things that they have knowledge of. So if your home inspection uncovers safety issues that in your state would need to be disclosed to other buyers should your contract fall apart, these are things that you should definitely be asking for, because more than likely the sellers will need to repair these items anyway.
And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video.
And if you want more information, you can check out last Tuesday night's podcast, where we dive deep into why you need a home inspection.
As always, we love your comments and questions. Keep them coming.
And if you like this video, you can hit the thumbs up. It'll let Melissa and I know that you do. And guys, we always appreciate when you subscribe to our channel. Hit that alert bell. It'll let you know every time we upload content just like this. And don't forget, share us with your friends.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.